Hello. um, Welcome to Emily Lunar Astrology. So today we are talking about energy and focusing on our flows, being our flow state, a holistic tool of empowerment and stress relief and all that lovely stuff. And I'm messing up my intro as per usual. But so first of all, I'll just introduce myself before I introduce my lovely guest. So I'm Emily Kalcher. I am an astrologer and intuitive tarot card reader. And I came to astrology due to chronic pain from Crohn's disease and found that working with the lunar cycle and eventually astrology and a little bit of low intensity yoga thrown in all really helped my health and well-being. And I would love to be able to help people with any duality, insecurities, and things they might have within the space, the lens of astrology, and using that tool for more compassion, empowerment, and well-being within their lives. So let me introduce my guest. I have Sonia from Celestial Astrology, and I will read. Hello. I will read out her blurb so that I can just let you know who she is. Let me find that. Oh, and I will say as well that if you do want to book a reading with me, anybody, then please visit my website or send me a message on Instagram or Facebook. Details are all in the description, but my website is emilylunarastrology.com. Right, so Sonia is a certified contemporary Hellenistic astrologer and astro coach, blending ancient Hellenistic wisdom with a modern one to offer you a contemporary reading drawn from sage knowledge of your ancestors. Celestial Astrology is a unique, holistic, online astrology and astro coaching service based in the UK. And Sonia would love to be your celestial translator, helping you become more empowered to navigate life's changes more easily, to make more conscious choices, identify patterns that may be blocking you, and to manage anxiety. So allow Sonia to help you find skills to enjoy a fulfilling life in flow. And I will just quickly say, because I always forget, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you find our conversation interesting. And of course, it helps people find my beautiful guests as well and all their lovely information, and connects me with more people who enjoy astrology, tarot, and many different things. And best of all, it's totally free. So, after all that,
yeah, people forget it's free to subscribe. You know, we're not asking asking for your money or anything. Just like and subscribe, please.
Yeah. So Sonia, would you like to kick us off with your big three? Talk a little bit about how they play out for you, your sun, moon, and rising signs.
Yeah, I am fire and earth, which is like a really interesting combination for me. So my fire, I have an Aries moon and it is maltreated by Saturn. So I've got all these ideas and Saturn just brings me right down to earth and slows me down with those ideas. So I've had chronic health problems, similar to Emily, and that slows me down with everything. So I get all these burning ideas, all these things I want to start, and Saturn says no to so many of them, and doesn't allow me to get going. And then I have a very late Aries, Leo sun at 29 degrees. So again, I see that as, I'm not like the Leo that's seeking the limelight. I've really struggled to put my face on camera. This has been like an ongoing process for a couple of years of like my first videos where I was like, where shall I sit? What shall I do? And make it really short and really nervous. And like forgetting everything that I was going to say. And I've gradually got a little bit more confident. And Pluto's just moving through that 10th house of mine. And I like to put things in a healthy container. So as Pluto ingressed into Aquarius, I kind of said, Pluto, will you just help me get more confident, going on camera, because with my chronic health issues, I can't mix out in my community as much as I would like. So I can't be a local astrologer going out to local events and doing astrology there. That's going to be challenging and difficult for me. So I have to go on camera. That's the only way I'm going to be able to reach people and talk to people. So I knew that this was, if I wanted to do astrology, which I love and adore doing, I'm going to have to like push myself in that area and overcome that barrier. So this is me doing this thing and like going live and meeting you for the first time doing this. This is like a first for me, because I'm used to doing these kind of things with my friends, with my comfy, cozy corner of friends that I'm used to working with. So thank you, Emily, for gently easing me through this process. I really appreciate it. And then I've got a Taurus ascendant, which is my grounding. It's like all that fire, and then it comes down to earth, and it's, yeah, I think I need that. I need that Taurus, that slow, steady. Okay, how are we going to do this? It's like, let's be real. All those wonderful ideas, all that spark, and let's just slow, steady, and that wins the race. It's kind of pace myself, do it in a realistic manner, and that's how I get things done. Is when I embody the Taurus part of me. And also I love my garden. It's like when I get any time off, I just go sit in the garden, meditate in the garden, or posture in the garden. So that's where I find my joy, and it's so Taurus.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I actually recently had my chart rectified in class by Frank Clifford. So I am a newly Taurus rising. I always thought that I was Gemini rising and Gemini sun, but right, I am 27 degrees Taurus rising.
Oh, so you're quite late. I'm 26. So yeah, so we match very well. Our chart. So you'd have the same Pluto in the 10th as well.
I actually have Pluto in the 6th house.
Oh, sorry, not natally. I mean transiting.
Sorry, transiting.
If it was whole signs. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So we're both doing this journey of getting onto our YouTubes and doing that. And that's kind of how we met, wasn't it? In the Astrobiz, learning about growing our YouTubes, and we started a conversation there. So yeah, that's interesting that we connected in that way, both Taurus rising.
Yeah,
I love that Frank did that for you. I love him as a teacher. He's great.
Oh, he is amazing. Yes. And I've just literally finished my 3rd year of London School of Astrology. So,
oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
Well, it's a great school. I've done day courses with them, but I hadn't found them when I started with Adam's School at Nightlight. So, I kind of went that way. But then I found their day courses. So I've been doing day courses with Frank, and I love the way he teaches.
Yeah, me too. So actually, that's a good idea. I was thinking where to go next. Actually, no, let's just go in some kind of normal order.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just be not getting to our lovely little presentation-y bits that we were kind of thinking of. Sorry, Gemini, you've got to come down.
That Gemini sun's gonna. Yeah, my sister is a Gemini sun, so I know.
I do have a Capricorn stellium, so that's where my Moon and Mars, and I've also got Neptune in there. So that's my little grounding bit I need.
Yeah, we need that. We need that grounding.
Yeah. So let's go to where we were then. So what was young Sonia like then? What were you like growing up? And then how did astrology come and find you?
Yeah. When I was really young, I was very into magic and the sky and the stars, and all the books, the Narnias and the Wizard of Oz. Those ones that were layered, and Gobelino, the witch's cat, and I knew I was a witch. Whenever there was a fancy dress, I'd be a witch or a magician or something like that. So it was very much, and I would have friends in the Stones. My family has a farm in Ireland, so I would love going over there and just talking to all my friends on the farm. The cows and the like my grandpa built these the walls with the rocks, you know, and it just is such an ancient art, that putting together of those rocks, and you know, feeling the rocks and feeling the trees and just having that connection was so magical. But my mum did die when I was 7, and that really changed everything. And it's like the magic left me then, which was a real shift and a change. And sort of the grief came in. And I do see that with the moon being maltreated by Saturn. When I came to astrology, I could see how that's all played out, and the Saturn square at 7.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, we know how that works. And you know, it was really hard when I first started understanding it. It kind of brought up all that grief again, and that's kind of where astrology found me, because there were family patterns that recurred later in life. I mean, it was only around the COVID time that other members of my family got sick, cousins, and we lost quite a few family members, not because of COVID actually, but because of other illnesses that were not getting treated as well as they would otherwise have done because of the COVID restrictions. And I started questioning these family patterns of my mum dying so young, and then my cousins dying so young, and my aunts grieving. And, you know, in the same way that my grandparents and my father had to grieve. And it was like all this grief and heaviness that our family is holding. So I was asking these questions and looking for answers. And really, astrology was the only thing that could offer those answers. You know, nothing else really could give the answers in the depth that astrology could. And of course, you pull up your chart, and it's just symbols, you know, and then you start like Googling, what does this mean? What does, you know, the moon and Saturn together mean? And then you're like, oh my God, I don't want to know. and you realize that you need a reading. And that's what made me realize I need to learn this, because it's not enough to just have an hour's reading and have somebody interpret it and answer those first questions that you had, because I had more questions. Did I cause this? Did I, you know, was my birth, you know, had I been born 10 minutes later or a day later or a day earlier? Could everything have been different? So many questions that I needed to have answered, that only astrology could answer for me. So yeah, it was only like around that time, 2020, 2021, 22, that I started self-teaching and then looking for courses. And I think it's like a later teacher when you ask me about teaching. But yeah, I started like my first proper courses then, but I started like looking into just learning myself at first, Googling, getting reports that tell you, and then you realize that this bit's contradicting that bit, and these computer printout calls, they're practically useless. You really need a person to synthesize the information and relate it back to your personal experience and make sense of it. Like the printout computer readings just didn't cut it for me. So I had to go deeper and deeper. And that's what I've done. And sort of 4 years later, it's like, okay, starting to understand it, but still learning, still practicing, still learning. So much more to cover.
Yes, I think with astrology that we will always be learning anyway. It is that process of learning and learning some more, and actually, as you say, synthesizing some things that we've learned. And well, yes, actually, I have a similar kind of thing as well, that I'd started in 2020 having the time off work with Deborah Silverman's School of Applied Astrology, and absolutely loved that. And then from there, I realized, well, actually, there's more that I want to learn, because I want to actually do some more technique stuff. I loved all the elemental stuff, and she had quite a focus on Saturn, and as a psychotherapist as well as an astrologer, she did have some of the Jungian psychology style of way of looking at things. I thought that was lovely, but for me, I need to go deeper, and that's where LSA was necessary for me. I'm thinking, perfect.
Yeah, because you need those tools under your belt, don't you, to make your own interpretations as well. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there was a few little bits of, okay, this is a trine, this is a square, this is an opposition, or whatever, little bits like that, and a tiny bit on aspect patterns, but it was not quite the extent of what I'd learned in London School of Astrology. it was a lovely foundation, and I loved all the sort of elemental way of looking at things too, because actually
Yeah.
there's some beautiful practices that we can then give clients if they are really deficient in an area, or it's not manifesting very well for them. Like, have you tried so and so? Have you tried that? As well as any other interpretation things that we find for them or discuss as the conversation goes. But
Yeah.
Obviously life does bring us challenges, and
It does.
Saturn is that one that does give us the growth points, and it's always hard to lose anybody, of course. But hopefully there's some lessons and some integrations within family ties and looking there, but also within your learnings that you've then discovered going forward. So
it feels like it with bringing me to astrology. It feels like I've come full circle in that I'm finally finding some healing. I think the grief will always be there. It's like that heaviness. Saturn is out of sect in my chart, but it's in the 12th house, so it's in its joy. So that is something. That there is that way to find something that's going to make Saturn happier. And it feels like he's given me this gift of astrology now. That it's like, okay, this is how you're going to understand it. This is how you're going to understand what's happened.
Yeah, definitely.
Sense of it as well is so important. Like, as a child, you can't make sense of it, and then as a young adult, I couldn't. And it's like only finally now, sort of in my later years, late 50s, starting to make sense of it.
Yeah, it is strange that obviously life gives lessons. We know ourselves as working within astrology that Saturn, Jupiter tend to be our sort of monitors that give us those lessons. Do we expand into something, the Jupiter side, or do we restrict or find some structure, the Saturn side? It's kind of a juxtaposition between the two. But it is interesting that everybody comes from a different lens, and everybody comes here trying to find answers that maybe your average coach or even health provider or whoever might not be able to give you the answers that you're seeking. Sometimes religion can for some people, but others it's more spiritual. And whether it's that you come from a psychology lens, or whether you come from a spiritual or religious or whatever lens, however you find astrology, there's often something that will light you up or give you some kind of spark of intrigue or magic or healing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about celestial astrology then. Where did your name come from?
Yeah, it is an unusual one, and people often like mistake it and think it's celestial with the L on the end. It actually came to me in meditation. It was, you know, how when you're starting to think and you start making your website and you start to think, okay, what am I going to call it? And I was playing around with a few names, and celestial wasn't in my mind at all. And I was just meditating every day, and it was Mercury's day, so call Mercury in and meditate, and the name just came fully formed, Celestia Emporium Sensei, those 3 words. And when I came out of the meditation, I had to Google, because I was like, what does that mean? And I can't find anywhere that the 3 words together mean anything, but it stayed with me, and it feels significant that I was given those 3 words and just a vision of me teaching in some way, or sharing knowledge. And it was like, okay, this is where I'm going. Okay, I'm just going to trust that and lean into it. And at the time, when I looked up Celestia, I found something that said that Celestia was the sibling of Selene, the goddess of the moon. But I can't re-find that source. I've never been able to re-find it. So I don't know if that was true or not. But what I have found since is that it means heavenly and of the sky. So it's like, okay, this is good. And it also sometimes is linked to Uranus, and I have a trine to my ascendant from Uranus. So it's like it totally fits my chart, whether it's Uranus or it's the moon. It totally works for me. And the actual asteroid, I have a very tight aspect between Mars and Jupiter in my chart. They're at the same degree within minutes of each other. So Mars is overcoming Jupiter. Jupiter's struck by the rays of Mars. So there's very much this dynamic relationship between the two. But Mars is in my 7th house, and it's a functional benefic as well, because it's in its own sign, and it's there's lots of reasons why it's really good. So it's a functional benefic. It's applying to Jupiter. Jupiter's in its zodiacal rise, so they really are the two most well placed planets in my chart. And Celestia, the asteroid, is right between, at the midpoint of the two of them. So it's like, okay, this is really something quite wonderful that I would never have created for myself. That there's all these layers of meaning to it that are very, very personal to me and to my chart. So it's to be done, even though people get confused and go to celestial astrology and can't find me. It's like I think the right people will find me at celestial astrology. And I think it's so authentically me, and that's of course what fire signs have to be is authentic. And I think this is a name that really is me and my charts.
Yeah.
And of course, when you're given a name, you kind of have to embody it as well, I think, when it's given to you so profusely. And then I've hidden Emporium and Sensei within my website that put those names in so that they're there.
Oh, brilliant.
I'm not going to, and whenever I abbreviate my business name, it's CES, as Celestia, Emporium, Sensei. So to me, it's all three. So I hold on to that image and that vision of what it's going to be. So it's sort of quite meaningful to me in that sense. Yeah, when Mercury speaks to you, I always listen, and he's never led me wrong. He sometimes tricks in the way that he communicates, and sends you a puzzle that isn't immediately obvious what he's trying to say. But once you figure it out, or he'll send you like little breadcrumbs that lead you on a bit of a merry dance. But he's never led me wrong in what he's told me. If he's told me something's going to be okay, it is. And if he's told me I need to do something differently, he's always right. So I do trust him, even though he is a trickster. It's like, yeah, bear that in mind. But he does send good information. So thank you, Hail Mercury.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. So thank you for asking that and giving me a chance to show him gratitude.
Oh. Yeah, I did a fairly recent rebrand. So originally I was Emily Lunar Pumpkin, but then the connotations of pumpkin, people thought Halloween, rather than thinking of the timings of the year and actually being something for abundance. It wasn't giving that vibe to people, despite the fact that that's what it was all about. It was more connected to the turning the wheel of the year and that sort of thing. But I thought, okay, fine. But
it wasn't. Yeah. Oh, that's a shame though, when you have a name and it's meaningful to you as well.
Yes, although I do love my new logo that my husband made me, and the ideas behind it. The hands of like holding space for people is still there, which was in the original design of my original branding, but there's more kind of nuance to the colors and everything, for like having the Gemini in there, and also some kind of slightly Aquarian influence as well, but also there's a lot of symbolism in the colors and the way that I've put it all together, but I really can't remember every single thing as to why it's there off the top of my head. That's a whole other conversation.
But no, I love your branding, and I love the colors as well. It really pulls me in.
Thank you. I did also have some help with ideas from a few of my friends who are also in the London School of Astrology, so that was quite fun too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's great. When we make the friends at school, you don't think of that part of it at first, and yet it becomes the most important part, you know, as you move into your business, to have that support of those friends that you've made. It's really been important to me to have studied with those friends through those years and now have this like really great friendship, and we're all going out in the world and doing our own thing, but we come together with those ideas and support for each other. It's really, really special.
It's lovely in a way. I've got, being a typical Gemini, I've got 2 Astro families. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Let's get back on to some more things about you and your stuff. So, okay. So, what came first then? Was it the Hellenistic astrology, or was it something else in your like learnings and trainings and things you've done?
Yeah, I first studied. Oh, I can't hear properly. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. I first studied with Rebecca Gordon, and I'd been following her on Instagram, and I attended a webinar that she did, and it was for an intermediate astrology course. And I'd just been attending loads of free webinars on astrology, and there was this push at the end to sign up, and she was saying, no, anybody can join, you know, it doesn't matter what level you are, as long as you can, you know, even if you're a beginner, it's fine. And I was like, oh, I can totally do this. And I think I messaged and said, can I do this? Because I hadn't done a formal course up till then. Well, I was really in at the deep end, really in at the deep end, because I was still learning the planets and the glyphs and everything. And it was kind of like straight into predictive astrology.
Oh, wow.
So I was so grateful for my study group who really held my hand, and I was like studying really, really hard to catch up, and keep going through that course. So, and it was funny actually, because I was only doing it like for my own purposes, just to learn more about astrology, to answer my questions really. But a few things went wrong on that course initially with my sign up and things like that. So I'd been liaising with the supports, and they offered me, there was a certification track, which I hadn't chosen because it was at an extra cost and I wasn't intending to be a professional astrologer. But what they did was presumably they didn't want to offer a refund or anything, but they offered me the certification track for free, which meant extra classes, like an office hours and extra time with Rebecca, and then an exam at the end. And I was like, oh, really? I could certify. So I've gone from this real novice who's still getting to grips with what does Mercury look like in a chart? How do I find Mercury? To like suddenly I'm going to certify at intermediate level. So it was like, wow, really in at the deep end, really studying every hour God sends. But when somebody asked me, what is it like? I was like, it's like opening a gift. It's like Christmas every week when the lesson drops and I'm just really in it. And there's just like all this wonderfulness of astrology that I'm learning. And of course, in order to learn it, I've got to go back and learn whatever basics I'm missing to understand the actual class. But it's just like, wow. I was just so excited every single week that this wonderful lesson would drop, and then I'd get this extra class, and there was just, I was just on this roller coaster ride of like totally immersed in it. So it was just wonderful, all the time. And of course I did the exam and passed and got a really high grade, and I was just totally thrilled with myself.
Wow.
that I did that and that I was able to do it. So I was chuffed to bits. But after that, I still had questions like you know, finishing your first course, it was like, okay, but there's more. I don't understand why of everything. You know, I've been taught this is this, and you do that, and you click this on your software, and that will give you this. But I was like, I'm not sure I understand it all. You know, I've got bits missing. And again, I was watching podcasts trying to figure out who my next teacher could be. And Adam Millenbass of Nightlight Astrology was doing his podcast, and he started promoting his year 1 course. And one thing he said, I will teach you the why. And that really resonated with me. It's like, what I want to know, why is this, why is that? And it's like, if he's going to teach me why, then he's my teacher. And yeah, I only intended to do his year 1 course and then move on to another teacher. But 4 years later, I've now just completed his whole program. So 4 years of study with him. I've done year 1, year 2, year 3, and the horary course now.
Wow.
And yeah, I didn't even realize that was it. It was only afterwards, while I was waiting for my horary results, I was like, oh, I finished. It wasn't like this, yay, I'm finishing celebration. It was like, oh, like that sadness of that brilliant roller coaster ride of discovery has ended. It was just this like bittersweet, oh. He does master classes and everything, so I can still continue with that. But it was like that discovery, that learning the why, that magical journey. It's like, yeah, that great 4 years. And I've been so lucky that in all of those, my friends from the first year, 1 or 2 of them have been on all those classes with me. I'm going to repeat the horary because that was so in depth and so nuanced that I've picked up the basics in the first year, but I'm going to repeat it and just now I think got to grips with the basics because I passed the certification. Try and pick up that nuance and see what went over my head the first year, see if I can like ingrain that. But I've also been studying with Matthew Kenny, and he does a class called Gnosis, which is, again, it's about the energy as well of astrology. And he's teaching us meditations with it and magical, your altars and the planetary devotions. And I'm having a wonderful time there as well. And again, I'm repeating Gnosis, and he's got a 2nd level class that will start in the autumn, I think. So I'll do his 2nd level class, and I will wait until Austin Coppic opens up and I can get there in time within that hour that his classes open up. And if I ever get lucky, then I'll sign up and study with him. That's my plan.
Wow.
So
Wow.
Saturn in my 9th and Saturn in my 10th has a lot of plans for me. So really, I'm an astrology student, I think, just an eternal student.
Yeah. I mean, I have Saturn opposing my sun. So yeah, that's probably why I've often felt, well, is this enough? Do I know enough?
Yes. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Saturn on either of the luminaries is so difficult, isn't it? To keep your light going. Like, are you a day chart or a night chart?
I'm a night chart.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that helps a bit. Like Saturn on my moon, obviously, in a night chart is difficult with the outer sect, but at least in a day chart, the sun is out sect and so is Saturn. But I don't know how much. How do you find that showing up?
Well, I think it's been quite tough, but because I do have that Capricorn stellium, I've always known it to be there, if that makes sense. I've always known Saturn's energy being there. But the Mars conjunct my moon in Capricorn has actually motivated me to say, well, yes, okay, things have been hard growing up, but actually, I mean, something that Deborah Silverman always says is that people with a lot of Saturn energy, it's you're old when you're young and young when you're older.
Yes.
I love that. I have actually felt that. I do feel like I'm sort of living out the more lighter side of things. I'm actually more vibrant than when I was growing up. I'm in my zone, as it were. I'm there experiencing the loveliness and the communication of what the Gemini stuff says. And really realizing that the Capricorn moon was there to protect me in a way, to say that actually when you've gone through the hard stuff, you can then teach people and hold space for people in a different way. And actually the Mars is that motivator saying, well, actually now you're gonna follow that passion because you need it. You need that energy, that nurturance to keep you going.
Yeah, and that Mars is exalted, isn't it? Conjunct the benefic of Set, that conjunct the luminary of your sect. So,
I
so yeah,
mean,
that's going to be wonderful, like for you communicating and teaching and everything.
yeah, I mean, I was my last guest I had was Kira Sutherland, and I was just so chuffed that she actually agreed to be on my channel. And we were then talking about my Chiron in Gemini, and she said, "You've healed it." I'm like, "I know, I've healed it." It's like, I don't stutter so much anymore. I speak my
Yeah,
truth, and I love speaking with other
mm,
people.
yeah,
Whereas I was a shy kid. I would never have
yeah,
done that when I was younger. But now I'm here holding my own, and I love it.
yes.
So.
Well done. Yeah, that's so amazing. And that's what astrology gives us, doesn't it? That we can validate ourselves in that way and see our progress.
Yeah, and the Taurus rising kind of makes sense now. Again,
Mm,
the moon is exalted or happy there. It's like, well, we've got that happiness of the rising sign, then connecting to that stellium in Capricorn as well. It's like,
yeah,
well, that all makes a bit more sense.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm
that's beautiful.
somebody who loves chanting and singing and all of those things.
Yeah,
So it's like, well,
yeah.
it's like if you were able to, you would have sung yourself out of the womb.
Yeah. Sing a little mantra to your mum as she's birthing you.
Maybe it
Wow,
would have
lovely.
helped.
Yeah.
Oh well. Um.
That's so lovely.
So when we go into what else we were looking at, we were going to look at. Oh yes. So what do some of your coaching sessions look like with your clients and things?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, because a lot of people like can have a misconception of what it is. And um, sometimes I've like gifted a session to somebody and they've said, "Oh no, I don't want coaching because I don't need to be told what to do. I don't want to be pushed to do something." And I'm like, no, that's not what coaching is at all. It's it's about like establishing what your hopes and dreams are and what your barriers and blocks are, and then finding a way to navigate through that. Um, so
Mm.
it's very much starting where you're at. It's like, where are you now and where do you want to be? And how can we find a way through that? And then astrology is the key that unlocks the easy path for you to do that. It's like you can go the hard way, and you probably have been. If you're having difficulties and you've come to coaching, it's like, yeah, you've probably been knocking on a locked door, maybe. But let's go the way where we find the doors that are open for you, and see how easy it is to just walk through those doors, and see how they can support you. And sometimes it may be a circuitous route, um, and it's just getting somebody to trust that that could be okay. Let's look at your chart and find out where the support is for you. It might be a triplicity support, it might be a bound support. What planets support you, what ways are going to get you there that you might not be aware of, but could work really well for you. I'll always ask, like, have you tried this way? Have you tried that way? And how did that work out for you? And usually when they think about it, they're like, oh yeah, it did work. And it's like, right, more of that, please. um, how can we bring that into what you're doing now? And then when I can work with people for longer, then we can start working with the moon cycles or the moon families to like plan out. It depends. If they're just going to have one session, you can't get a lot done. You can start just looking for where the support is and guide them gently. But if you work with somebody over 6 to 9 sessions, then you can really make a longer plan of how they can get there using their astrology and using the current transits and using the moon phases and bringing all of that in to really get them closer to where they want to be, not where I want them to be.
Yes,
And
exactly.
that's the really important part. This is nothing to do with what I want or what I think. And the most important phase I learned when I was learning coaching was stay unattached to outcome. If a coach is telling you what they think or telling you what to do, that is not coaching. That's maybe, I don't know if that's counseling or anything, but nobody should be giving you sometimes we can brainstorm things. If somebody's really stuck, I might say, let's brainstorm here. And then I can put my own ideas in if somebody's really stuck for ideas. But what we're trying to do is get what that person's inner reserves and what their hopes, desires, and wishes are. out and their route to achieving them. This isn't about what I would do, because I'm a different person and they've got different challenges and blocks to me. I'm not living their life. So how I would live my life is totally separate. So I totally separate myself from the process. And it's all about the person. And there might be lots of other things going on that they're not telling me about. You know, you can't tell somebody your whole life in one session, or even in a couple of sessions. So even when we discuss blocks and barriers, there might be things still that don't get uncovered, or that maybe are just hinted at in the chart. That's the good thing about using an astrology chart, that I can see some of them that they're maybe not ready to touch on, or that we just move gently around. Sometimes I ask in the intake, is there anything you're not comfortable talking about? You know, so we can agree not to discuss those areas, just to make sure that the person's totally comfortable and we move forward at their pace, you know, because that's important as well. And then the other saying that people love is, we get on at the bus stop that you're at, and then we just focus on moving to the next bus stop. That's the most important thing with coaching, is you're on a journey, and it might be a long journey, and it might even end up in another country, you know, depends on, you know, what your plans are. You know, think big. If you're a Jupiterian person, dream big, dream huge. But the most important thing is that you get on that first bus and you get to the next bus stop. And that's where we really focus, is taking that first step. So people can get overwhelmed by how big it is and not start at all. And it's like, okay, where are we going to start? What's the realistic first step that you need to take, and that first action? And sometimes they can realize that that's a very small, manageable thing that they can easily achieve in a week or a month or something. And just by doing that, instead of being overwhelmed by the whole thing of it and never getting started, just by breaking it down like that, then they can see how easily this plan can open up in front of them. And that's quite often the magic of it. And then quite often they're off and rolling, you know, and they may not need me anymore after that. But I have had some great results, you know, just bringing in the other tools like the mindfulness and things like that, where it just helps sometimes give a different perspective as well. But even sometimes using the lunar return charts of a person, I was able to see something that had showed up that week. I just got prompted, I think it was Neptune, every time I picked up a book to look up an aspect for a person that I was dealing with who had Neptune on the just crossing into her first house. And I kept thinking, okay, Neptune, you've got something to say about this. But every time I picked up the book, I got this kick in my stomach, and I was like, and after it happened like 3 or 4 times, I was like, right, okay, something's going on. It's not a tummy cramp, because it's only happening when I pick that book up. And I was like, what could it be? And I just was messing around with my software. I looked at a lunar return chart, and I was like, oh, I see it. I see what the problem is. And when we met, I asked her, and she was like, yes, that's what's happened. You know, and I just said, was something happening regarding, there's this stellium here that's affecting your natal charts. And it totally unblocked a blockage for her that was family issues related, but it wasn't just the person that it happened with that month. It unblocked a whole like lineage, ancestry, family thing. And we had like a couple of sessions just talking about how that had unfolded. But it all came from just doing that lunar return chart, an event that had happened the previous weekend that she hadn't thought anything about. But because I asked her about it, it just, like opening a plug, you know, the water just suddenly flowed, in a Neptunian way, and the realizations flowed from her just from that one question. So it can sometimes be quite magical like that, just getting that right question for the person.
Yeah, I love that. You obviously use some of the keywords in there as well. It's like, right, okay, there's I don't think you actually said fogginess, but Neptune can give that fogginess, that kind of misconception, or not showing you the full light of something. But then when revealed, it can flood out the information, flood out the answers, flood out the magic, the mystery, and all the insights. But oh, there we go.
I liken it to Pluto in that way, that in the way that Pluto sort of reveals what's been hidden beneath the earth, I think Neptune reveals what's been hidden beneath the sea. And this was like a Piscean, Piscean type person, and it was like all that stuff, that silt when the tide's been in and then it goes out, and you see all the treasures that, when people go like beach combing and find all those treasures that have been revealed when the tide goes out. It's like, finding all those treasures that she was able to just pick up and run with then, and what about this? And what about this? She kept asking me, and it's like, right, let's find it in the chart. Let's find it in your transits, and just all these revelations that she was having. And it was just fascinating and like really validating to me, because I was quite new to it then. And it was like, right, yeah, this works. I can do this.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, just it's just lovely the way that astrology kind of speaks. It's kind of like, well, the Neptunian stuff, it's like, well, that's Poseidon. And then like
Yes.
the depth of things that we don't always want to see, the shadows, the murkiness.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that can be like Hades kind of realm stuff. But then when you bring things into the light, it's like, oh, we'll share some sun and moon on this. We'll get it all like actually visible again, and we'll actually help where we need to. And then you probably look at something like 6th and 12th houses for helping you reveal some of those things for well-being. But yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, and it becomes a pretty shell to keep, and to hold on to, because it's that precious insight that you've had.
Oh yeah,
it guides you forward.
Cool. Right, so where did we get to? And we've already kind of discussed about how you sort of naturally guide things in, like a little bit of mindfulness here, or a little bit of, do you do that sort of similar thing with Reiki as well?
Yeah, I mean, I offer to set a Reiki intention, which is just for healing, before every reading. People can opt out of that, so it's not forced on them if they don't want it. It's always for somebody's highest good. It's never something that's unwanted. And I've only had it once where I did some Reiki for somebody's mum, where the daughter had asked for it, and I really felt it blocked. And I thought, okay, should I tell her or not? And I decided, yes, I will tell her. And when I did speak to her about it, she said actually she had so many people praying for her, she was quite cross about it. I was like, okay, so that's the block that I was feeling. It really was a no, I don't want this. So it's like, okay. But the rest of the time, usually the person, obviously I do it and you opt out on the form. So unless you actually opt out, it's just part of my pre-reading processes to meditate, center and ground myself, invite the oracle in, and set the Reiki as well to light on myself and on the person that I'm reading for. But obviously I'll take note if you opt out, just so that I can pass that healing information, see it in the chart and share it with you, and that it is healing for everybody. And also with the mindfulness, it's and that doesn't really come into the astrology readings, but it would come into the astro coaching. And again, it's only when it's relevant. It's not something that I'm going to push on people who aren't open to it. But it kind of happened because with one lady, it was really helping her, because it can help with relaxation and stress and anxiety and things like that. And there's one mindfulness thing called loving kindness, and there was a person she was struggling with. And it was like, okay, let's try the loving mindfulness, but you don't start with the person that you're struggling with. You start with the people that you know about and care about, and then you gradually move it towards the person you're struggling with. But quite often you don't even have to get there, because you kind of get the idea of the loving kindness that everybody's struggling with their own thing, and that person that's causing you issues is probably struggling with their own thing that we don't know anything about. So we can still send that loving kindness out to everybody without judging them. And so she started that practice, and it really, really helped her just stay in your place, stay in your heart-centered place, and just not judge anybody. That person is still going to be irritating or annoying or say the wrong thing, but it just doesn't burst your bubble. You're in your bubble of loving kindness. Their words, especially if there's somebody who's going around upsetting everybody, it's actually not personal. And sometimes we take these things personally, especially if we've had a bad day. It's like, oh, that was really what did they mean by that? And we take it so personally, and actually it's not at all. It's about them and their stuff, and we don't have to energetically entangle ourselves with them. And I think by sending out that loving kindness, we can sort of keep ourselves in that place that we choose for ourselves, and leave them to deal with their stuff. We're not judging them or their stuff, but we're just centering ourselves and keeping ourselves. And I think that really helped that person that I was helping with that. That was the feedback that I got, that it did, and that she was carrying on doing it. And that's what led me to put the Astro Mindfulness out on YouTube, was that I was doing it for myself initially, just looking at the lunations and just trying to do a meditation for myself, thinking about the planets and where they were. And then she asked, and she was actually a friend, and she knew that I was doing this, and she said, well, would you record it for me? And then I was trying to figure out a way to record it and send it to her. I couldn't figure out how to do it. And somebody said, well, just record it on YouTube and you can send it. And I was like, well, if I'm sending it to her, I might as well share it with everyone.
Yeah.
And Mercury was in Virgo at the time. So it was like Mercury was just giving me these little kicks along. Okay, you're going to do this and you're going to share it with everybody. And it was like, YouTube is the place, and you're going to record these and you're going to share them. And it's like, okay. I will spread your word, Mercury. Thank you, Mercury.
Yeah, it's that little helper energy, and using the discernment, and it is, yeah, there can be the healing and sort of cleaning house energies, can't there, with Virgo?
Yeah, because I find mindfulness really helpful, because you don't have to spend an hour in meditation in a silent room, cross-legged with your yoga mat or anything, with the candle burning. You can, I've used it, I have chronic headache problems and hearing problems. So when I had to go to a hospital once, to the A&E room, and it was so busy, I was really having difficulty coping. So I just kept going into my 3-minute mindfulness practice. Every time it got too much and I could feel a panic attack sort of coming on, I was like, okay, 3 minutes, I'm just going to be mindful. I can do 3 minutes. And it was just that thing of, I had the tools that I've practiced when I've been calm. And because I've practiced them when I'm calm and quiet, my body goes back to that mindful place automatically. Sort of, you practice breathing into your mindful center, and my body just automatically, okay, we know what to do, and my body would just go back to that mindfulness, and the panic attack would just go. Obviously it would come back quite quickly, and I was having to keep redoing it. But it's like, even in that busy, noisy place, surrounded by other people and their energies and everything that was going on, you're able to just tune, and nobody knows you're doing it as well. That's what I love about it. It's like, you can just sit there, lower your eyes and breathe. And it's like just that little time out, or you can go to the loo or whatever. And that's what I love about it as a tool. It's so effective like that once you develop that practice, it's there for you in every situation that you need it. You do your practices, but you can take it with you wherever you are. And that's what I really love about it. And that's why I sort of just what I preach, I suppose, and shout so loudly and advocate, because it really has helped me with my own anxiety, with my own chronic health issues. It's been the most useful tool after years and years of therapy and doctors and things that didn't help. This was the thing that just turned that corner for me, just learning this as a tool. And it's empowering, because you're doing it for yourself. You're learning something that you can use for yourself. So it's empowering as well. I'm in charge of this. I can use it when I need it. I'm not reliable on a tablet that's full of chemicals and medicine. It's something that I can do for myself. So.
Yes. As a fellow chronic, I understand.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you don't need a tablet to counteract that, and a tablet to counteract that, and a tablet to counteract that. It's
the side effects. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, actually, if I do a daily 5 to 10 minutes yoga on my bed, and then I do some breathing at a printer, or I do some hip circles, I'm actually going to be totally fine.
Yeah.
And yes, there is the need for some medication. I do take one medication these days, rather than, I think it used to be like something like 7 or 8, but one, and everything else within me.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well done.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it, when when you have that chronic pain, to get that medication down. That's what we're always aiming for. And any tools that we can use that are natural and that we're in charge of are so important.
Yes, definitely. Because otherwise, if you end up taking everything without questioning it, you can feel like a zombie. And it's just, there's just no point in making yourself feel that way. I mean, obviously, I'm advocating that there is a role for necessary medication for some people, for some things, but there are also other somatic healing ways of being and ways of just knowing within yourself, or having those little tools that you can do for you that will actually help you every day. And that's a beautiful thing to have.
It certainly is. Yeah, I love it. Really made a difference for me.
Yes. Shall we get into some transitive stuff?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Oh, are you on any time limit or?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, cool. I
Yeah.
was just thinking, we've been talking, and usually I say to people, oh, well, I try and keep things to about an hour, but if we go over or under, then that's totally fine with whatever time restraints anyone has. I'm thinking, oh, we haven't even got there. Okay, cool. I'll try and add this to what we're doing then. So that's oh, perfect. Straight away. That's full screen everything. Okay, cool. So when we were talking before, and also with just the energy that we're in, we have currently Jupiter in Cancer. As you know, I made our little thumbnail due to what was going on in the moment. Was that I literally was called to look at a moon goddess for thinking, why am I called to do this? And this is what came up. And then when I looked, like you've said about doing as well, looked at why it came up, then I was greeted by Artemis. So like, well, okay. And this is why. So Artemis is the goddess of hunting, the moon, and fertility. And when I think about Cancer, I think about, okay, so Cancer rules the breast and the stomach. And it is also a water sign and can be about healing and things, but it's sort of that sign of protection, that sign of I'm going to sidestep something rather than go directly for what I want, but I'm also going to wax and wane some of that energy within me. But it's with the I pointed at the screen, but I realised you can't actually see the point on the thing. Right, let's use a mouse. So actually, with Jupiter in Cancer, Artemis is actually the daughter of Zeus, and Zeus is represented by Jupiter within astrology. So that kind of tied in quite nicely. So as we were saying, Jupiter expands capacity of things, but in Cancer, it's a capacity to feel, capacity for self-preservation, to feel safe and to feel like you belong within you, but also the tribe that you're surrounded by. So yeah, Jupiter in Cancer for me feels like focusing on family, home life, nurturance. I think in my blog about the new moon, I'd said something about it being about have some hearty foods and things, nourish yourself, feed your family and friends, get together. But yeah. Expanding opportunities for fulfillment and abundance. And that transit is going to last until June next year. So then if we get on to what you wanted to talk about as well. So we were talking about Uranus coming into Gemini, which will be on the 7th of July. So then I said, well, actually, this is a little bit about Uranus. In Greek mythology, it was Uranus, Father Sky, which was the first child of Gaia, Mother Earth. So from that, Uranus is that planet of eccentricity, freedom, and we think of like rebels and liberators and shocks and surprises and all those things when we think of Uranus. So that's those keywords then: liberates, disrupts, breaks for freedom, catalysts, shocks, sudden changes. And then if it's in Uranus, I've just talked a little bit about Gemini, that people can have a look at themselves. But yeah, Gemini energy. I'm a Gemini sun. You can see it. I use my hands.
Yeah.
Looks,
Yeah.
rules the lungs, the extremities, a little bit of the nervous system, medical astrology as well. But yeah, so thoughts of Uranus and Gemini. This is kind of what I thought of about what we were saying there. But there might be things like, I don't know, more AI stuff that frees people in some way, or maybe disrupts freedom in some way. I don't really know what that's going to come out and how that will look. But over to you. What do you think?
Yeah, well, what's fascinating me, I mean, I know quite often it is linked with war, and that's what a lot of people have been talking about. And also Neptune moving into Aries has been linked with war. And Neptune in Aries we think of as this like steam, like the planet of the sea moving into that fiery place. But I'm just fascinated again, like trying to point. It's that trine that's now set off with Pluto, and then the sextile with Neptune is these outer planets coming together. And I think we've got the exact sextile with Uranus and Neptune goes exact on August the 28th, and then when they both move back, it comes again on November the 20th. And then the trine with Pluto is like an orb within September to November. So it's like these generational planets are going to bring individually, they bring like a generational story. Like you'll get a whole cohort of classmates, like the whole school will be growing up with like Pluto in Leo or whatever. Like we've got our political leaders are all Pluto in Leo at the moment, or they have been. Let's see if that changes. After 47 in America. But that's kind of like the old guard. And then you see a generational shift into maybe Pluto in Virgo, or maybe even younger. Maybe it'll skip a generation and you'll see even younger leaders coming forward. But the way that these outer planets are connecting, it's like the opening up of a new story. So we've got Pluto in Aquarius is about the collective and like these higher ideals. And then we've got Neptune, this steamy, what are we going to fight for kind of questions. Who are we? And Neptune being about our collective ideals, and they're connected by sextile. And then Uranus in Gemini being about the information and disrupting the information and bringing those sudden insights and those sudden leaps forward, and being in a trine to Pluto and a sextile with Neptune. So they're all connected, all three of them. And that's quite a unique time in history. So yeah, it's hard to say exactly, but it feels like a leap forward for humanity and quite an optimistic time. Even if it's going to be bumpy, it could well be bumpy as we adjust, because the old going may not go easily without fight. But the systems that aren't working for us well, that are letting so many people down, I think a lot of people's eyes are open to the fact now that they're just not working for enough people in society. There's so many oppressed minorities, or so many people where the trickle down isn't working, and things like that. And maybe people are starting to speak that, where before there was this illusion, like the Wizard of Oz, where we just don't speak. There's this man behind the curtain, but the curtain stays put and nobody looks behind the curtain. And I think now the curtain has been drawn back and people have seen the reality that this money that's generated in the world is all going into spreadsheets and offshore accounts. And yet there's this poverty and suffering that all this money could help. So is it time now for this money to be put to work, to go where it's needed, and is that what money is for? What is money for? What is the question? Gemini is dual things, two things at once. So Uranus disrupting and rebelling, could it be and Mercury being the Lord of commerce and the Lord of the flow of money, is it going to create two flows for money? Is there the money that's held away and the money that gets put to use in society? And are we going to ask, what is money for? Is it for squirreling away in offshore accounts, or should it be for the better use of society? Or should our money be not actually cash, or should we have a different form of money? Who knows? I can't say, for example, because I've never lived through these kind of connections, but somehow I feel with Neptune there could be uncertainty at first, and then as they connect and separate with their retrogrades, I think we'll start to see that form and some new ideas come forward that we test out and start to get attached to. And Pluto unearthing what's beneath the earth, bringing those volcanic shifts in. I think Pluto is empowering. Ultimately, it's all early days. They're all new in their signs, so they're all. I think of it like as a cardinal nature when they're new in signs. They're discovering, they're figuring things out, and it can be what ends up the actual thing is kind of like when you get near the end of the sign. It's like, okay, this is what it's going to be, but at the beginning, it's like, oh, let's try these different ideas out. So we've got some time because they're moving slow, but I think these get connected and thrown up in the air. So as somebody said, we live in interesting times, but I don't know if I want to live in interesting times. It's not easy. It's not as fun as they made it out to be, to live through history. And I think this is opening up a period in history that's going to go down in the books. So, and I think Uranus is moving into the Geminis, that last piece of the puzzle that's going to connect those three planets. I'm excited and kind of a little bit apprehensive.
Yeah, the word that's coming in is trepidation.
Yes, yeah. It's hard when you can see this stuff, and I think sort of 2026 will be more certain, because obviously they're all going in, then they're all returning to their old signs. So we're just getting this, like the pilot episode, just getting a taste of what it might be. Then they're going back, and then 2026 they're all going to move forward into these signs for good.
Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying about money and things. And I was thinking, well, also Uranus, a lot of people would consider as like the higher octave of Mercury anyway. So it's kind of, it's an unusual one to think of. Well, unusual is a key word of Uranus anyway. Yeah, it's just really strange.
It's something that Richard Tarnas will write about in 10 or 15 years, but I had a look through his book. I couldn't find anything specific connecting to the combination of these three planets. So it's like it's something.
Yeah, there's a lot of food for thought in this, but I don't really know where to go with it. It's gonna watch and wait.
Ingress, but it's like the ingress makes that connection of three complete. So it's it's a big one. So that's July the 7th, isn't it? The ingress.
Yeah.
So, and quite often that ingress chart holds the energy for the whole transit, like the whole of the time that it's going to be in there. So that's special and important. So watching that day.
Yeah, we will see.
But let's hope our collective dreams that we're holding, like maybe light a candle on that day and hold some positive collective dreams to send those out into the world. That's what we've been doing more of. We held on the new moon in Cancer, we held three of us from my Ask group. We've got a collective of astrologers, and we held a frequency for peace, thinking that was like the energy of the Cancer new moon was and the Jupiterian ideal of peace in the world. So we held on 3 different platforms just that moment of let's get together and send out that frequency of peace into the world, and just encourage others to join us or watch the replays and send out that frequency. And as the moon is waxing for the next 2 weeks, just keep sending that energy out into the world, and to make that our collective dream of what we're and not the worries and the weight of the difficulties that we're seeing, but keep holding that frequency of what we want to see in the world. And I think that's important. The more of us that do that, the more that's going to override the difficulties and the pain and the suffering and the worries.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. Yes.
That's my little prayer.
I was thinking 108, the time that we were live for, that came up. I was thinking, this is a powerful moment's message that people need to hear.
Yeah, little angel number there.
Yeah.
Thank you for allowing me to share that. I appreciate.
Yeah, I love that. It felt really resonant with what we're going through and how people can practically move with the energies and the movement as well. And okay, that's a good one. So for you then, how do you manifest your dreams into reality and sort of stay consistent or on top of any projects and things that you have?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have a ritual, a very small, short ritual every morning, where I speak to the planet of the day and just ask for any guidance. And sometimes I get an answer, sometimes I don't, and that's okay, you know. And sometimes when I do get that guidance, it's really specific and helpful, which is like really interesting. I think it just is that consistency. And somebody said to me once, it's like a friendship. If you have a planetary devotion, it's like, do you, like a friend that you connect with every year or something and you have a big catch up versus the friend that you're on WhatsApp with every day, like all those little ups and downs. And thinking of that planetary connection is the same thing, that it doesn't have to be a huge ritual with all the bells and whistles and 7 candles lit on a special altar outside with, you know, everything set up. It's just a very small, simple, quick ritual, but I do it every single day. So it's like that regular check-in. This is where I'm at. Where are you at? What are your thoughts? Kind of thing. So I think that's quite important to maintain and just keep it as simple as possible so that it's manageable to do daily. So that really helps me. And sometimes it's just a minor adjustment. You're doing this, take it in that direction. Just a slight tweak to what I'm doing. And I just tell them what work's going out into the world, and they might remind me I've forgotten to do something. It's like, oh yeah, I need to put that setting on it. It's like something as mundane as that. It's like just a simple push to go and check something that I've forgotten to do. But it really is super helpful. And then for the bigger goals, I work with like the moon families.
Yeah, me too.
For like this Cancer new moon, I've just finished the horary course, year 4. So I've launched doing horary readings by donation. So while I repeat the year, I'll do it for my Substack paying followers by donation. So I can just gain some experience and practice and just do it as a mutual thing. And if I make mistakes, then I'll offer them another free reading and hope that they understand that that's like a mutually beneficial thing. So they're getting it at a low cost. They can just pay whatever they will for, you know, for my time and feedback to me how it goes. And if it's not effective, we'll go again with a different question and just hope that it works like that. So I've launched that with the idea that by the Cancer full moon in 18 months, then I might consider launching it as a fixed price service, you know, that it might be ready by then. So it's like tracking it by that and adjust it in 9 months and see how that's working and how I'm getting the experience. And maybe I need to cast the net wider. But see when we get to the first quarter moon how that's going. So that's sort of how I plan it out. But definitely moon phases, planetary days. It's like the Astro Weekly update that I do with my Ask Sisters, my study group, Asterosphere Kairos we are. That's the wisdom of the moment. So yeah, we didn't know about the horary and the importance of timing. Well, we knew about the importance of time because astrology is all about time. But yeah, Kairos has become such an important word to us. So that name has just become so important, but it shortens down to ask, which is so helpful as well, because just ask, you know. So we've got like an eclipse workshop coming up. So we're starting to plan that. So again, just having regular meetings and setting goals, and again, pacing out for myself, because I can't overwhelm myself with work. And that Saturn in its joy will just keep going. You know, I'll find myself working quite late into the night if I don't pace and stop myself. Because that moon and Saturn, you know, they just want to keep going and keep working. So it's really funny. I'm just thinking, was there anything else? But yeah, mindfulness just helps me as well, you know, just staying unattached to outcomes. So whether projects work or they don't, you know, if they land or they don't, I just look for the learning in it. And I'm not attached to like numbers or followers or anything like that. It's like, I think what I'm called to do is just put my work out there, and there's something from everything. If I learn, if it's worked, if it hasn't, there's something from there. I'm building a foundation, and I'll move on from. So that's sort of how I work with it. And not everything lands at the moment, and that's fine, because you learn and you grow. And I'm still sort of fairly new to this game, so it's a learning process, isn't it? But you look back at what you put out in your first year, and you do cringe.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
I don't look at them very often, but the videos that at the beginning of my channel, I've had some astrology videos that I did after applied astrology. I was like, oh no, that's not good.
But I think that's really healthy, because it shows how much we've learned and grown in the meantime. It's like, and you do have to start. That's the important thing. I think I know people that will wait till everything's perfect to do something, and I don't know that they ever do start. So I think starting when you're imperfect, it's such an Aries thing, but it is sometimes necessary, and just be willing to accept those imperfections and know that you're growing and learning, and trusting that people will allow you to do that.
Yes, well, I do have a 6th house, which is it has Pluto in it, is Scorpio's 6th house, so it kind of, my daily work needs that intensity. It needs me to heal through it somehow. And in some ways, maybe that is part of why I do things the way I do them. But I think when we are astrologers of our charts, and as you say, sometimes conversations with the planets, or even if you, a way I often say in my head each day is, what do I need to know today?
Yes.
And sometimes it's, I'll pull a card, other times I won't bother. Other times I'll be walking to the muggle job that I still currently sadly have. It's a necessary thing until I build up more of my client base. But I'm grateful. But yes, in those moments, if I hear a bird in my head, I'm saying, thank you, I'm beautiful, you're beautiful, it's a good day. It's just little things like that. It pleases the little Venus bit of me that's in my 2nd house.
That gratitude is so important.
That's my Cancer. my Cancer in Venus, it's pleased by that.
Beautiful. Yes.
So obviously we've had beautiful conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And where can people best find you and work with you, or is there anything else you'd like to share before we do fully wrap up?
You can find me at celestialastrology.com. That's my website. It is a work in progress at the moment. I'm working with a lady who's helping me switch it up and change it. So some things are being moved around and aren't quite making sense at the moment. So please bear with me if you go there and something's moving. So it's just as you see it on the screen with .com at the end, and no L, no celestial, Celestia. And you can also find me as Celestial Astrology on YouTube. Blue Sky is probably where I'm most active, and on Substack as well. I do a lot of writing. Everything goes on Substack first. It's like Substack and YouTube are probably the 2 places where I focus most. And I'm trying to grow my Substack, and that's why I'm sort of concentrating on like the horror readings for I've got a small community of paying subscribers on Substack, and I do a live astrology meeting once a month, Q&A, where we talk about like current transits and what's going on with things and what we think, and just sometimes look at charts, sometimes individual questions. It depends on the size of the group as to what we'll do. Sometimes some teaching. I've done some teaching on the decans and fixed stars and things like that on there. So we've had some, and I've kept the cost. Substack, one person did feedback that she didn't like the cost, but it's £3.80 a month, and that is the lowest that Substack allows. So I couldn't make it any lower if I wanted to. So I do apologise if that's too much, but that is as low as I can go. And for that, I include a download of my Astro Coaching workbook. So that encourages you to work with the moon cycles and to identify the planets that are helpful and unhelpful in your chart. So you get that download. You can attend the lives and you get a discount from readings. So there's various things that are included. So I try to make it as good value as possible. And now you can ask horary questions as well by donation. So, compared to the cost of going to a fully qualified professional, quite often they're between £50 and £80 for a one horary question. So it's quite good value, even if you just join for a few months. It's it's incredible value if you join for a few months, but hopefully people will want to stay.
Yeah, I'm very new. I'm very new to Substack, but I figured that I give usually somewhere between 4 and 5 pages for free of my new moon and full moon blog across social media, and I figured I'd do that on Substack, but then continue with the rest of my blog, which I would usually have paid on my website, just put it on Substack as well. So not only does it have the search engine of people are already on there, but it's another way that people can see my work.
Yeah, surprising when you first join. I've never had growth like it from when I first joined Substack. Really? and people finding you and connecting. It really is a good platform for people writing, and then I record the writing and share that on YouTube with a little video of moons or whatever the topic is, of charts or whatever. And it'll upload it to YouTube, and now it's making clips and all sorts. So it's really getting quite effective, and it'll share it to podcasts. So you can find it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and things like that. So it goes to a podcast as well. So you can find me all sorts of places now, but thanks to Substack, essentially. So that'll be, so I do like new moon and full moon writing, and then ad hoc pieces in between. But that's what you'll find in an astro mindfulness on the full moon. But yeah, apart from that, I've got my Guardian reading, which I've been very excited about. It's called Guardian of Your Portal, and it's for people who actually know their astrology chart. So if you're familiar with, excuse me, all of your planets, so you know what your sun represents and your Mars, if you know those, but you're not sure about maybe your IC. A lot of people, the IC can be difficult to pin down, but I've actually read for people now with all 4 of the stakes, so I'm quite glad, because they've all been effective as a reading. So the person chooses one that they want to get to know, and we go on a journey of exploration, sort of starting with the furthest out, but just looking at the planets that connect with that angle in some way, whether it's by aspect or as a term or bound ruler. However many it is, we connect with maybe 4 to 5 of them, and just go on a journey taking us closer and closer to that portal, and see in a meditative liminal kind of way. It's a very cooperative kind of reading. It's not a reading where you sit back and I tell you loads of stuff. It's asking you to join me in the meditation and then visualize those planets as friends or guides that are coming to you in that environment. If it's Aries, whether it's martial and steamy and hot, or if it's Cancer, you're going to go to this watery lunar place and visualize whatever planets. So if you were talking about your Venus in Cancer, you would be looking for a lady or a woman or a young girl in this Cancery water place, and to see what has she got to tell you or teach you, or what is her message for you, and what are her gifts for you, and how can you help her as well to feel better, and will she help you on your journey to whatever angle you've chosen. So if you've chosen the IC, how can she help you get there? And then towards the end, we may or may not be able to enter the portal of the angle, and that just depends on how it's gone and how you feel once we get to that angle. And most people are like raring to go, and they can see it straight away. By the time they've kind of got into this meditative place, they're like, oh yes, it's like opening up straight in front of them. That's been my experience. There's only been one person who wasn't ready to go there and felt that they'd re-listen and maybe go in there on their own. I totally respect your process and whether you're ready to go there. And again, that's available by donation, because I'm developing that still. I would say it's kind of a new One, it's been inspired by Palace and Joe Maker of Ways. They've both got readings, one on the IC and one on the 12th house, that are a similar kind of style, but I've been inspired by them and made like my own third thing to explore these portals. And again, that came through in a meditation to just start doing this and exploring in that kind of way. So I'm really excited about that. It's been really effective, and loads of information and insights come through in that different way of exploring a chart. So yeah, so I've written a post on Substack that explains it more and talks about it more, of what to expect, because yeah, it's important that you know what to expect when you come and you're not expecting a traditional type of astrology reading, and that you're ready, that you can, I mean, virtually everybody can visualize and meditate, but a lot of people don't use that skill. So if you don't use it, then it can be harder.
Yeah.
Again, I can talk you through it, but yeah, if you don't use it, then it may be harder and it may be difficult to do it. But the people I've worked with have had no problems.
Right. Yeah. Super interesting. And obviously it's using the magic that maybe your young self would have enjoyed as well.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
building upon that.
Yeah, to find that as my way, and then the Taurus of grounding it into something really practical and helpful for people.
Yes.
To find information that's useful in their real life. Yeah, because understanding those angles is so important, because when planets aspect them, or you've got transits to them, it's important. If you have a real intimate knowledge of that portal and you've traveled into it, it's like, how amazing is that? You know, I want to have that reading.
Yeah.
And be able to sort of access my angles in that way. But I haven't been able to do it for myself. It's not fair.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people that do enjoy this, either at the moment or a donation, and also in the future when you fully have it as something that you're regularly giving to clients.
Yeah, I'll find the right moon cycle for it, and then when I do, I'll work with that to
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was just thinking, Frank always says about, we need to find a happy moon. I was like, yeah, me
too. Yeah, I love that we're doing this on a happy moon, as the moon is waxing from a happy moon.
Yeah, even better.
Yeah.
Right, well, I think it's a good time to wrap up with our happy moon, and say to people that if you've enjoyed the conversation, please do remember to like, subscribe, and share with friends, family, whoever, but also check out Sonia's website and my own if you choose to book any readings with us or just want to know any more. So thank you very much, and see you when I see you. Enjoy the replay if you're watching it then, etc. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Sonia.